I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, Episode 8. Last episode we watched the end of Mechamaru, as well as the beginning of some event taking place.
The beginning of something.
Beginning of what I feel like is a trap for Satoru Gojo.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes. I don't know. Obviously everything in this entire series is pointed to, regardless of who he's up against, Gojo's the best and he can handle anybody. But obviously from season 1, we have the idea of him being trapped and captured.
By someone who now, with the beginning of this season, we as the viewer have an even better understanding of just how well the character that set the trap knows Gojo and what could possibly actually bring his demise.
If there was any single person in this show who could trap Satoru Gojo, it would be the person attempting to capture him right now.
That's intimidating. That's a little scary. I'm a little scared.
And talking about intimidating and scary, the Zenin guy, the old dude, he's pretty scary. I don't know what that's going to lead to, because Maki obviously has pretty strong feelings towards her clan. Mm-hmm. Weird to see them together, but you ready?
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, that was Jujutsu Kaisen, Season 2, Episode 8. I'm more nervous now than I was before.
As soon as... It was not a relief, and it did not feel as satisfying once Itadori, we got that shot of, the nail in the ground being broken, and the fact that domain, was finished.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw Mahito basically walking away, I was like, shoot. That was like... It's like... layers of the trap. Like, you just set a booby trap, letting someone know to kick the rest of the plan into action almost.
Yeah. So far, it is... I feel like everything's going right from Geto's side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's accounted for, everything's planned. It's so much... I'd imagine it's so much different than anything you're used to as a Jujutsu sorcerer, right? Like, it's... Like, fighting a curse is one thing, and trying to exercise a curse is one thing. And then, as we entered Season 1, it was like that introduction to seeing, from our point of view, what these, curse users are able to do on the opposing side of us, and how complicated and difficult that could be in a fight, as well as curses who are capable of... very intelligent thought, like Jogo or Hanami, and what they're able to do. But this is, I feel like, from a Jujutsu sorcerer's point of view, might be one of the most difficult things that they have had to face in their entire lifetime.
Gojo basically even says as much as identifying why this is exceedingly different than any other fight, is that this is curses who have partnered up with sorcerer to act and fight differently than they previously had, and to use ideas that the sorcerers do. And so it does almost level them up a little bit in terms of how to fight.
I think so. And it feels like it's like information overload, There's just so many different sirens and lights going off around the room that you're like, okay, I can handle this. But the intention behind setting up all of those sirens and lights were that you'd inevitably get this person to be focused on handling the situation in front of them, so that you can go behind the scenes and try to trap them using the fucking prison realm, which I have so many questions about.
I also have a lot of questions about that, but I just wanted to stay on the thought of what all the things going on everywhere, what would be happening in someone's mind as they're trying to process all of that. I almost feel like Gojo has classical music playing in his head, and he's just kind of taking in all of his surroundings. He doesn't seem phased yet. Not that we'd necessarily see him phased.
Yeah.
But we do see Jogo kind of being like, I hope we can hold out on our end of the plan, which is to keep him distracted for this amount of time before this prison realm takes place.
Yeah.
I don't know. What is a prison realm?
My thought at the moment is that it's going to take Geto coming out to actually trap Gojo, which I'm pretty certain at this point. I think it's going to happen. I think that he will be caught, and I could be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure in season 1, when Gojo fought Jogo at first, Geto made a point then to be like, I cannot be seen right now. And from what I remember, I don't think he has been seen from Gojo since then. So if I trust Gojo for what he can account for, but if it's something so out of left field, like Gojo just randomly showing up out of the blue, then that's not like a card that he assumed that they'd have so close to the table.
Well, yeah, think about the conversation that Mei has with Itadori is, oh, well, they're only talking about Patch Face.
Yeah.
And when Itadori looks over, he's like, oh, that's suspicious object. But he doesn't know what that object is or who it might mean is around.
Yeah.
So they're only really thinking about Mahito being the big threat.
God, can you imagine if Mekamaru was able to get out one piece of information? Like if he was able to get like a screenshot of what he could have seen.
Send it out.
Like seeing Geto in front of him and like having Gojo like recognize that and like really, I don't know. I feel like that'd make a big amount of difference here.
I like how they're using the setting to even more so push the idea of this like levels of harshness, and then that you need to get to that final floor. Basically, that's where the final boss battle is.
Yeah.
And that while you're on your journey going down the levels, there are small bosses, small mini monsters to fight as like transfigured humans, but also you're like doing quests of saving civilians.
Yeah.
I love that idea because I think that the setting just even helps that idea and that concept even be more clear.
When Geto was saying that there's like a 99% chance that Gojo wouldn't use, Infinite Void here because of the civilians and everything, if it was any other character in any other anime, I'd be like, well, you're fucked. But like that 99% chance is something to lean on. But I don't know. Like
giving Gojo a 1% of anything.
Yeah. And I know that 1% isn't like his odds or anything. It's the likelihood of him potentially causing casualties using his domain expansion. But, and it's, like, part of me is like, okay, Gojo's so good that he would never doubt that he couldn't save, like, as many people as he possibly could here. But because of what's happening in front of him, there's a slight chance in my mind that he could be like, okay, well, if I don't do it now, even more lives could be cost.
That is a really great thing to bring up because there are certain characters in media who it does not matter. It's the people in front of them that matter. They won't even start to consider the aftermath or the after effects or how many more lives. They're just so much more focused on saving the people in front of them. That's what their morality is telling them. But there are other characters who might take a more calculated approach of save the most people. So when Gojo entered the first, kind of barrier, he saw how many people were around.
Yeah.
Not everyone had run down, into the subway station. Not everyone had gone down there. There was tons of people still
that he was jumping on their heads of using it.
Yeah. So he's aware that there not only are a lot of people in this area in a grand scale, but also in this compacted area, not just down under the ground.
Yeah.
So certain calculated people with their morality maybe being different than the other in terms of like being able to weigh that within themselves of like, would I rather the chance of saving more people or do I need to save the people in front of me? That's a difficult question, and I really think that 1% still being there when Geto is talking is like clear that like he could decide that he needs to finish these 3 off here.
And like using the language, even if he does have the skill to selectively trap you all in it, like it's such like a great number of non-sorcerers would get crushed. Like it's like the hint of that. Oh, if he's that skilled enough, and then my like inherent feeling of Gojo being like he's always skilled enough. Yeah.
I kept thinking this whole time, like, I trust. And he's like, Geto here is kind of almost like poking us a little bit, the viewer, being like, well, if he's that skilled. And what we're seeing in ourselves, the viewer, is that we have this like crazy amount of trust that no matter what, Gojo's gonna get out of this, and none of these non-sorcerers are gonna get crushed.
Yeah.
And these three will get defeated before Geto can even do his prison realm, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And it's because we have been, from narratively, given all of this trust in this man.
Yeah.
That he, especially when you're poking at him, being like, if he is even that skilled, we're like, duh, he's gonna prove you wrong, you know? I mean, I know it's not the same as what Itadori said, but it kind of is. He's like, don't underestimate humans.
Yeah. I have such a weird feeling in my stomach when I'm seeing, like, Jogo and Hanami, like, coming at Gojo with, like, fists ready to punch, because it's like, yeah, I know they're like, the antagonists here, but I remember the Juju strolls of them gardening and them in school together. I
wish Hanami, like, I like Hanami in fights, but I'm also like, Hanami, don't fight.
Well, okay, do you think Hanami and Jogo are on a similar, like, power, like, scaling level? Because obviously Jogo has his domain expansion, and we've only seen Hanami fight a handful of times, like when she fought Itadori and Toto.
Why do I find Hanami more intimidating out of the two?
I don't know. Probably because we watched Jogo get his fucking, like, shit rocked.
Maybe that's
so hard.
it. I don't know. There's just something about Hanami that I find, like, maybe it's the on, like, an energetic level, in terms of, like, Hanami's reasoning for fighting, and certain things that happened earlier on in the story with Hanami, that you could tell there's, like, care there for the friends, like Jogo.
Yeah.
That I'm like, I almost find Hanami a little bit more, maybe even, like, interesting.
I think that, like, Hanami's, like, I don't know the effect of reason for curse equates to strength, because like, if that's the case, that's a different conversation, but I'm not too confident if that is the case. Like, I mean, the grasshopper curse, right? Kogai, I think his name was.
That was his name.
Yeah. I mean, not gonna lie, like, I was like, okay, he's not gonna survive past this episode or next.
I was so silly for a second. My mind immediately was going to the idea of praying mantis. And so I was like, oh yeah, they're known for being wise. No wonder he keeps saying he's clever. And I'm like, oh my god, no.
Yeah.
No.
I liked his, like, idea of Itadori being clever, because he was able to guess what he was.
The, like, pacing there.
Like, how long they let it sit.
How long he was like, when he said grasshopper, that was hilarious.
It was awesome.
I'm like, why are you adding hilarious moments in this?
I like that they don't lose the humor of the show, just, like, regardless of what moment it is. Okay. Domain amplification. It seems like it's on this, like, how they described it, it's on the same kind of wavelength of thinking as...
Like a simple domain?
As a simple domain. All of those like, I didn't think that you could do something that would get you that close to hitting Gojo, actually. And, like, the thought that is on the table is terrifying enough for me. Also, we got to see the third brother again. I have his name written somewhere, but he obviously has a vendetta, you know?
Yeah, and I think what we're supposed to possibly feel, other than an immense amount of mixed feelings internally as a viewer of both trust and nervousness right now, I think that we're in a very tough place. We've been put in this place purposefully. We've been given the character that every single person in universe trusts, and we as the viewer trust, but we're also being given all of these different other elements or odds stacking up against them to make up this trap. This trap we've known has been purposefully laid and thought about for a while, which is very intimidating. But I found it really interesting this episode that the brother only does one action, and it's only to create a visual distraction and opening for Hanami and Jogo. And then I'm like, he's not really a part towards the rest of the end of the episode of fighting Gojo. So I'm like,
what's his next role?
episode
Yeah.
going to hold? Is he going to have more of an actual role?
Like, I don't know. I don't know how many episodes are in the season. It's episode 8 right now, and there's 25 in the first season. If that is how long this second season is, then I don't imagine things going down right away. And what I mean by going down is like potential matchups, because I think he needs to fight either Itadori or Nobara, and obviously they are not in the same area right now, because I think he needs to fight them because of how season 1 ended.
It'd be easiest for him to get to Itadori, but not really.
I don't know.
Well, we don't know all of the layers of the plan because Mekamaru didn't survive, so we're a little screwed out of all the details.
The prison realm, right? The idea of trapping him in this, like, the name alone and the competence in this plan makes me inherently think once you're trapped in here, there is no untrapping you unless somebody physically does it. But then it's like, oh, Gojo can transcend anything. Can something like
the name is very powerful in evoking kind of the ideas of what it could actually do to someone. It also just reminds me of the actual prison that we went to in season 1.
Yeah.
That's like all I could think of as soon as he said it.
Part of me is just like, oh, there's no way even that will work on Gojo. But then I'm like, it's Geto saying it, so it has to some degree.
And also, like, narratively, is this really supposed to be a big win for Gojo when this has been a plan in place since season 1?
I think Gojo not necessarily is going to go down easy, but I think he's going to get caught, right? Like and then what? I like that we got like a bit of focus on Itadori this episode and got to see him in his fight, because I'm getting progressively more nervous thinking about what life without Gojo is going to look like if he's trapped. But with Itadori and his ability, like Itadori as an individual, I am very confident with. But with how the intro is alluding the Sukuna aspect of this and the other fingers that they showed, I'm like, Itadori isn't necessarily a safe bet.
It's basically like they're going to be waving candy in front of a baby kind of thing with the fingers.
Yeah.
So I just want to say one thing. I wanted to bring back, just narratively, I know this adds a little more to the energy of how this is intimidating and possibly very bad.
Yeah.
What is happening is the idea of that conversation that Gojo has had previously with his students about how he was really trying to find like really strong individuals. And we also know now that, with Panda and Mei, like, putting their words in for these individuals to
be promoted.
Yeah. There is this idea of this new wave of up-and-comer Jujutsu sorcerers being promoted and now being able to maybe show their strength here.
Yeah.
And these are also people that Gojo has specifically put a lot of faith in and hope in.
Yeah.
And so narratively, if anything, if Gojo actually gets trapped, then narratively what could be happening is a show of his pupils are the ones that save him. And that could be incredibly cool. Fun and great.
And on one hand, I'm like, okay, no way, because we're like so far behind right now. But if we remember what Gojo was saying at the end of season 1 and what he said to Fushiguro, is that like the growth of a Jujutsu sorcerer isn't necessarily like a steady incline. It can just take one thing to really like set them off and make them on a completely different level than others.
And this could be totally a one thing.
Yeah, but that like part of me is just very worried about Itadori, because like we got the Sukuna idea about him being able to possess Itadori or take control of his body because of the deal of bringing him back to life, and obviously like, oh, you can't do these things once I'm transformed into you. But I don't know. I wonder if Sukuna is going to play a role in this.
It's like he has
and I don't
right?
think I would even bring it up if it wasn't for me seeing fingers in the intro, to be honest. Like, that
That's
scared
fair.
the shit out of me.
I think you could have brought it up regardless. I mean, a lot of really interesting players are here in one battle.
Yeah.
To not bring Sukuna to the table would be a little bit maybe confusing.
Is that the goal here? Like, are we trying to get Geto to have a platform to talk to Sukuna? Okay, what happens after Satoru Gojo is...
Well, you have to get Gojo out of the way so that you can actually have a proper conversation.
Or
with Sukuna?
proper what? Like, you need to
Deal?
get Gojo out of the way in order to achieve your goal, or to take steps to achieving your goal. Out of the entire reason that Ichidori is able to be alive right now is because Gojo is able to kill him if necessary, right?
Mhm.
So if Gojo's taken out of the picture and this massive risk is still on the table, that being Itadori, then Geto could then potentially have an in to talk to Sukuna or like offer a deal. I don't know.
That is very fair. Itadori's life almost is held in the balance of Gojo's survival.
Yeah.
That's something you don't really think about because it was given
So
to you
long ago.
Literally in probably
Episode 1.
In the first 2 or 3 episodes.
Yep.
This is a hard place to be in. They've really given us this character that we just have so much
You know what
faith
though?
in,
If they did anything less, I wouldn't believe that there was any risk to Gojo.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the idea of using humans as water in a dam here was something that I probably wouldn't have thought about in terms of in terms of scheming how to defeat Gojo. But this is a good move by the villains, by the antagonists, the curses. All right, you good?
Yep.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.